Hello, I'm James Joseph, and you are listening to the Couch Riffs podcast with myself and Mike Squires. I added a bit. Getting into it now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Couch Riffs podcast, episode number 278. My guest this episode is James Joseph of James and the Cold Gun. I had the privilege of touring with Cold Gun in the UK last year, the end of last year. They opened up for Duff McKagan, who we were all touring together. They're a great bunch of folks, great live band. They have a new record coming out on Loose Groove Records called Face in the Mirror. The third single just came out. The new album is going to be here April 25th with tours in the UK and in the US to follow. I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed talking with James. He's a funny and interesting guy and a really fun person to tour with and to see play every night. So if you have a chance to catch them live, go do it. Go listen to their last record. Go listen to their singles that are coming out. And when the record comes out, go buy their record. If you are enjoying the Couch Riffs podcast, please accept this invitation to support us at Patreon. Patreon helps keep the lights on here. I'm organizing a show coming up soon. There's been some costs involved in that, so all of that Patreon support goes a long way in helping all those things happen. Thank you so much to folks who have been supporting, and thank you in advance to everyone who chooses to support Couch Riffs in the future. There's a lot of fun and exciting stuff coming up that it's all up here. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. James has great stories. Like I said, he's a funny guy and personable. Really, really like him. And you will too. Don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't be a dick. James, welcome to the Couch Riffs podcast.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's cool to be here.
What a time.
Absolutely. What a time.
We had the pleasure of touring together just a couple months ago.
We did.
Like 3 weeks through Ireland, the UK, and Europe.
Total honeymoon experience.
What a time.
What a time.
I got to, see you guys most nights, and I would come out and watch a song or two and hear the show every night.
Mm-hmm.
Great band, but I really didn't get to know you guys very much because, we're not traveling together.
Yeah,
we're passing in the club, right?
That was it. Yeah, we had a few nice encounters on your bus that you were nice enough to let us come on for some chocolates and little chats. But we were, for those who don't know how touring works, these guys were on a bus, so they'd finish the show, sleep, go to the next place. We would have to get straight in our van and kind of just try and keep up behind you. But it was fun. We had some of the best moments of the tour are like 3 a.m. You're on a drive, everyone's delirious, and like things are just funnier.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just like weird, especially German service stations.
Yeah.
Like just weird. Everyone comes out with like a weird little, like, what are they called? The Oktoberfest hats.
Right.
You look, someone else has got sunglasses on and like a massive can of beer. Yeah. Good times.
I know the pleasures and the pains of
that.
So, I guess, let's get to know you.
Okay. All right.
Let's do it.
You sure you want to?
Absolutely. So where are you from?
So I am from a place called Pontyclun, which is in a small.
Like a made-up place.
It really does. Yeah, that's Welsh. So it's right next to another place called Pontypridd, which some people might know because Tom Jones is from there. I feel like whenever I have to tell an American about Wales, it's either Tom Jones or Gareth Bale as well, because everyone loves soccer over here. But yeah, we're from a small town. But then it's only about less than an hour from Cardiff, which is the main city.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about Cardiff is the first time we came to Seattle, Cardiff and Seattle have this weird, similar kind of energy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the slight underdog kind of smaller city that's actually started to have loads of cool things happen in it. Even the comparison that can be drawn from like the music scene, like Seattle, so many cool bands that we love have come out of Seattle. there was also a similar boom in Cardiff, and nobody ever kind of could put their finger on why, because, in everyone else knows Manchester and London and maybe like Scotland as the places, but Cardiff had all these, in the early 2000s, had all these like amazing bands. And yeah, it seems like a repeat of kind of what was happening in Seattle in like, the 90s and early 2000s. Strange. Yeah.
When did you become interested in playing music?
Ooh, it was actually when the School of Rock film came out with Jack Black. not the coolest answer.
I'm feeling my age right now.
Oh, really?
You're not the first person to say that.
I think it feels weird because it feels like I've done music for ages. And then, or maybe it's one of those things where you find out that film was actually a long time ago, and that makes me feel old as well.
Right.
But yeah, it's not the coolest answer, but it was definitely that. I think a lot of people my age would probably say the same thing. It was a mixture of that, and then a slightly later down the line, like the Tony Hawk's games, then shaped my taste in music, because I got really into hip hop when I was younger, but then also into like punk and like metal, and that was kind of basically the soundtrack for those games. Yeah, it was School of Rock. I got a couple of guitar lessons, and I begged my mum for a couple of guitar lessons. So she did the classic. She kind of got me this cheap like acoustic guitar. I wanted an electric one, but she was like, if you do a couple of lessons, we'll see. You might be lucky enough to get the Squire.
Right.
And I did these lessons, and I don't know whether I've never been diagnosed, but I don't know whether I have like an attention deficit disorder or something. But the dude was teaching me, I remember it really well. The dude was teaching me a little lick in Whiskey in the Jar by Thin Lizzy. And he was telling me all the numbers of the frets and the notes and all of this. And I was just glazing over, just being excited, kind of just, twisting all the things on the guitar. Because I would use an electric guitar for the lesson. But so I was, giving a kid an electric guitar in an amp, it's like, they're never going to listen, I was just there like, and the guy was getting more and more frustrated. Anyway, I go back the second week, and my mum these are kind of expensive lessons as well, thanks to my mum for, they're not cheap. I think a lesson is like, $20 maybe, something like that.
More now.
Yeah, God, more now. And so my mum, didn't have loads of money. She was checking in, how's he doing? Is it going well? The guy was like, guys, he's hopeless. Well, let's try. Let's just. He's just not listening. He's just there, kind of just.
Yeah.
Anyway, we go back the next week, and then the guy is like shocked. He goes to my mum. He's like, "Your son's just done something amazing," and she's like, "What?" Basically, the dude had taught me how to play this part of the Thin Lizzy song in like the correct, sensible. I guess you'd call it the economic way of playing. Where you'd play it the easiest. I had not learnt anything, not picked up anything. Even the technique was wrong. I'd come up with my own version just by ear that was really plunk. It was, playing a note here, then a note here, then a note here, but like spot on. And
the melody was right.
Yeah, and he was like, "Look, I don't think these guitar lessons might be a waste of time, but this kid's definitely got something."
Right.
Yeah. So there we go.
That was
it. Yeah.
So Jack Black got you into the guitar,
yeah,
but he didn't teach you.
No, I don't know where that came from.
Economical movement.
No, definitely not.
Maybe it was the drama of his acting.
Yeah.
Well, it can't be that easy. The notes are all over the place.
Exactly. I remember actually trying to slow down. There's the part of the film where he's first teaching the kids Smoke on the Water, and I remember like trying to pause my DVD player at the time to actually like see what frets they were on, and I can't remember if they were actually on the right frets in the film.
Right.
I was like, I need to learn that. That sounds amazing. Like, how'd you do that? Yeah. I'm sure that riff still gets heard daily in every guitar center around.
Sure, it's
the world.
incredible that I guess Seven Nation Army is like
Seven Nation. I've got a story about that song in a bit as well. That's kind of the next step.
Oh,
you want to segue?
Well, go on.
Hell yeah! Okay, so I wasn't in a band for a long time. I had a guitar. My love for guitar went up and down. I never, I didn't actually know how to play the thing. I picked up a few little bits and bobs. It was kind of just in my room then for the next few years. I was more interested in like skateboarding, and I was quite into sports. I played like rugby a lot and stuff like that.
How old are you? 13?
I'd say 12, 13. Yeah, 13 feels like a good answer. And then it wasn't until I was about 15 where and I also I was constantly ingesting music. Like in my house, I constantly had Kerrang or Scuzz. They were like our MTV.
Yeah.
And there was the funny thing. We'll come to this later, but it was things like Velvet Revolver was constantly on, the Slither video, and it was all these amazing videos like Big Limp Bizkit videos and all the classics, Papa Roach and all this stuff. And I was taking that all in. Then I was dating this girl from the town over when I was about 15, and she was like, "Oh, we're gonna some kids from my school. They're doing like a charity gig," and I was like, "Oh, gig? What? Okay, what? Yeah, sure. Like, I'll come." Like, went to this gig, and this band starts playing. This local band that are just kids. They had like a rock school like scheme in the school. They get the shitty backline, and they teach the kids a few songs. We go to the gig, and these kids are there, and they start playing, and they go straight in with like "Sweet Child of Mine." And I was like, their set list, I remember it really well. It was like "Sweet Child of Mine," then Seven Nation Army,
right?
Then like Slither, and then maybe like something more like kind of metally, like a metalcore-y song or something. And I just remember being like, "Oh my God, these guys are playing songs from the telly. Like, how is that? How are they doing that?" Like, because they were pretty good. They were a bit further along than I was, and they were a pretty good like young band for their age. And I just couldn't believe they were like, it was like magic. I was like, whoa, like local people can play the music, the American music from the telly. I was like, because I had no concept that there were bands, even at that time, I didn't know that there were bands in Cardiff who were touring internationally. And, I didn't know, I knew like, I guess just pop music or like Disney, I don't even know what I knew at that time, really. I just had no understanding of music.
You thought that maybe music only happened at that level.
Yeah, it was, yeah, that's exactly it. I think the only gig I'd been to 2 gigs, and one was, there's this UK band called Busted. I don't know if they ever were huge over here. They were a big boy band. There's Busted and McFly. They were like 2.
Busted sounds like a bad choice for a boy band because did
they
ever get in trouble?
No, they didn't bust at
all.
They
were good boys.
They were good boys. They're still good boys, I think. But yeah, that was an arena show. I go with my mum. We're sat to the back, like it's in the same arena that I'd go to see like WWE wrestling and stuff. It was totally like, had no idea that there was small gigs going on in my city. Anyway, as soon as they finished, I like run to the stage, and I was like, I was kind of a fanboy in them. I was like, "Yo, like, how'd you do? What? Like, how'd you guys do that?" Like, the one dude just played Slash's fucking solo. I was like, became like best friends with those guys. They then invited me to a gig, their originals gig, like about maybe like a couple of months later, and it was amazing. They're like they were kind of like a post-hardcore-y, like Silverstein, like Alexis on Fire kind of thing, and they were amazing. They had t-shirts with their logo on, and I was like, I need to be part of this. I was like, this is like the most exciting thing ever. Also, the girls all loved it.
Band,
like, so, and so I got really friendly with them. Started going to like every local show I could. Tell me when to stop, by the way, because I'm going to like life. This is like life story territory.
This is it.
Okay, good. Go to every local show I could. Saw some slightly older bands that were even better, and I was like, oh my God, like this is, there was some cool, like the post-hardcore scene where we grew up. I'll interject with saying that there were some Welsh bands in the post-hardcore scene. One's a taboo one, Lost Prophets, but they were massive. They were like huge. But then there was bands like Funeral for a Friend. There was Bullet for My Valentine. So there was a really strong like metalcore post-hardcore scene. So all these local bands were like kind of doing that, and it was such an exciting genre because it's people are throwing down, like people are stage diving, they're singing, they're screaming. The drummers are always kind of doing, to someone who doesn't understand it, it's crazy,
Yeah.
So going to all these local gigs, just getting stuck in. Then I remember seeing this metal band, and they didn't have a bass player, and they just played the set without, kind of. It was a very tinny kind of set, but they didn't have a bass player. People were like circle pitting and stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to go and see if they want me to play bass for them. I was like, oh, hey guys, I'll play bass. I didn't play bass. I could play one bit of a Thin Lizzy song on guitar. That's kind of, well, you're a bassist, so I'm going to be careful what I say.
I play both.
You do. Okay.
I have a similar story, but yeah,
yeah,
go on.
My logic was kind of like, I got this. 4 strings.
Right. How hard can it be?
they were slightly older than me as well. So I'm so glad. I think of like, is it called move indoors moment? I forget what the saying is, but like, if I hadn't gone up to the stage after they played and asked them to play bass, like, had the guts to just say that. They were older dudes. Some of them were 20 and I was like 15. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here today. It's crazy to think, actually, saying it out loud.
You've always been tall.
Yes. So maybe they... Yeah.
Maybe they didn't even realize you were 15.
I need to show you a funny photo later. It's cursed.
Are you taller than them?
It's me when I'm 13, and I didn't realize this. I found it when I went back to my mum's the other day. It's me when I'm 13 with like a little rugby like player of the year kind of trophy, but I'm with the captain of the Welsh rugby team, who's like a 6'4", like he's built, like. And I'm there with my arm around him, and he looks tiny, but I've got like a child's face. It's so creepy. I got, like, it looks like some it's AI
like a Photoshop thing.
It's hideous. Yeah. They'll give you a good laugh though.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So maybe that.
Yeah. I went up to these older dudes who like, put my hand on their shoulder and said, "I can play bass."
And they're like, "Okay,
man, just don't eat us." So that was my first band. That band was called Years of Exile. And we were like Parkway Drive meets Unearthed. It was very like moshy metalcore. It was cool though. I kind of like that more than it's the best thing I've ever done.
How long did you do that?
I did that for about 4 years. We never did much. We just played locally. We never toured with that band. I think we played one gig in a town like in Birmingham, a town like 2 hours away, and we were like, we're leaving our country because obviously it's Wales into England. And I got so drunk on Jaeger bombs. I remember this. I was like living it up. I was like, I'm touring. And I remember like I was so drunk in the set that I ran and tried to do a knee slide for some reason. And it was this like, you know, like that kind of venue, like bristly kind of carpet. Yes. And I was in like mosh shorts, you know, like kind of horrible, like bright red Parkway Drive mosh shorts. and like a horrible vest, and I'm like there, like going for it. I run and do a knee slide, and I don't go anywhere. I kind of just go stop, and like I basically like just tear the skin off both my knees. Yeah, it was an uncomfortable drive home.
Oof.
But good times.
You learned a lot in that 4 years.
So much. You know what? This is probably the most important thing. I was joining a band where everyone else was way more of a musician than I was. Like, you know, the dudes who in the guitarists, especially in that band, they were sick. Because they were into all kind of tech metal-y things. You know, they were bumping like Protest the Hero and like Periphery and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, it was a lot for me to take in. I kind of assumed the role of like the band manager, you know, like the Lars of the band, so to speak. But I was I was like, okay, there's this other band and they've got like a blue t-shirt. We should get like this and that. And like we should get badges and we should get like bumper stickers. And I got obsessed. I think I loved when I was really younger, I loved playing like football manager games and like theme park, roller coaster tycoon and that stuff. So I think I've always had a bit of like a brain for like logistics and like making things happen. And they loved it because I was just coming in and kind of taking care of all the stuff that they, you know, those dudes just wanted to smoke weed and like play like hard music on guitar. Whereas I was just like, I got such a kick out of like booking the shows and like hiring a van and just all that kind of stuff. I loved it. I still do, to be honest.
You also honed your chops.
Yeah,
like,
ish.
It sounds like
there's some other funny photos from those first gigs where everyone else is rocking out and I'm there like looking over the shoulder to try and see what fret we're on, like kind of terrified, just like fifth.
Right.
Just turn the volume down a touch.
But you learned also sort of the logistics of doing a gig, like the process, like sound check. How do you do sound check?
Oh man, yeah.
It's a weird.
I can't even remember those early sound checks,
right? Because it's like it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
You're like, you don't want to look dumb.
No,
you don't silly, but you also don't know what to do. I didn't know forever how to ask for what I needed in my monitor.
Oh yeah,
or even what I needed.
I think I was too scared to. I think for the first few years, I was happy.
Monitor engineers are notoriously grumpy.
Oh,
also.
In Wales, especially in the valleys in Wales, yeah, they were different. A lot of the time, like you look to the monitor and there's just no one there. They're outside smoking a cig. They don't want to be there. Like I understand.
Did you have a band lined up when you left, or did you leave for another band?
Left for another band, which was a slightly bigger band in the scene. Oh no, it was two dudes from the same kind of scene, like metalcore, post-hardcore, whatever you want to call it. There was two dudes from different bands who were kind of starting a band. It was almost like a local supergroup at this point. It was like, yo, that guitarist's gonna go with that drummer. That's gonna be sick. So I got in there early doors. That band was, I guess you'd almost call it like gent. You know that's it. Yeah. It was like, again, it was kind of just moshy, technical, like metal music. And that was the first band where I actually played a few shows outside of, like, consistently, like we called them weekenders. What we do, and I would still I always give this advice to young bands who hit me up, because I get that a lot at the moment. The best way to get your start of touring, you're never going to get an agent, unless you're like a TikTok star or something. You're never going to get an agent. You're never going to get a tour handed to you. The best thing you can possibly do is hit up the best band in the next town over and be like, yo, we'll let you play our local place and cash in on our fans, and you do the same to us. Get a third band in, and you got three great shows. Yeah, I'm sure that's a thing over here.
Of course, yeah. Show trades.
What's it called?
Show trades.
Show trades. Okay, yeah, sick, yeah. And exactly, yeah. I think we call it like a gig swap. There we go, yeah. And that was basically when I first started kind of making connections. It's so cool now, because, like, without naming names, there are people. I love the fact that there are some people I knew all the way back then who are still doing cool things now. Like, I'm like, not gonna get too name droppy, but like, there's you know that band Sleep Token?
Sure.
There's a member of that band that, like, was there, like, back in the day with me, and we were doing gig swaps in these shitty kind of starter bands.
Right.
That, you know, some of my best friends play in a band called Loathe, who are doing like big things over here. And again, we were like just playing these pubs and stuff with our scrims and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that the people who persist do eventually get some good stuff, you know?
The scrim thing, like, let's talk about scrims. Do they still happen?
I hope not.
Like,
I hope not.
A lot of times it was no amps, right?
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes Im's was all the way across the back line in front of your amps.
Yeah.
You better hope it's where you want it, right?
Yeah, the scrims. Oh, yeah, the scrims were bad. I've been on like those. There was a couple of like all day festivals in Cardiff where like it's like a 70 cap venue, and every band has like scrims and a little box for the singer to stand on and like do their run in kind of like. Who was the scrim? Who was the genesis of scrim? Well, it's got to be a Warped Tour band, probably
right?
And maybe, and it probably makes more sense for Warped Tour, because maybe you don't have the time to hang a backdrop. Maybe so it's kind of maybe
Throw
it was
it out, right?
Maybe or cab flags. Maybe hardcore bands having like cab flags, like maybe was pre metalcore bands. I don't really know. I don't want to see another scrim as long as I live. Unless we're supporting like an arena, like if
I'm gonna bring him back.
Okay, yeah, sick for the podcast.
Back. I'm just gonna put the scrim
in front of me.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, can you just
put the voice? You know, like, so my first band, protective custody. What was the furthest you guys traveled for a gig?
London, which were and we probably traveled further. Probably traveled further in hours to some weird places like Hull. You ever been to Hull?
Sure.
Oh.
I've been kind of everywhere.
Yeah, okay. You've got a really good understanding of the UK.
Herbal Gerbil, or wherever you're from.
Yeah. You'll have to come. They'd love you.
Herbal Gerbil and Herbal Nurble. Those are the two towns, right?
They're two next to each other. Tom. Yeah.
What are the names again?
Pontyclean.
That's what I said.
And Pontypridd.
That's what I said.
I want to hear you say Pontypridd.
Pontypridd.
Yeah, mate, that's better than
Pontypridd.
Nice. You're in a circle.
I'm practically from there.
Yeah, you practically are. I don't think your car would fit on the roads, though. You'd have a hard time.
This is the smallest car I've owned in years.
Yeah, I know, it's fucking this country, man. But yeah, the furthest we went to some strange towns like Hull. No offense to the people of Hull who might be listening now, but the furthest we went in terms of like magnitude and the feeling was London, just because playing London's crazy.
Hull is all south, yeah.
Hull is north for us. because we're right down. Wales is like right down the bottom. Wales is
But
kind of in line with
in the scheme of
Hull is like mid, I think, mid north. It's hard because I feel like there's English people who are proper northerners, and you've got to be really careful about what you call the north, otherwise they get offended.
what would be I mean,
I think the north is like Bolton and Preston and like above Manchester. I feel like it's
Above
Sheffield
Manchester.
and like,
in that area.
but I don't want to go on record. I might get in trouble for this. So
I
let us
don't
know in the
care.
comments.
Right.
There you go.
Oof.
Like that.
Right.
Yeah, London was the biggest thing we did with that band, and that felt crazy. London always feels crazy to play. I don't know if I actually like. I was listening to a podcast the other day. Actually, it was Justin Hawkins from The Darkness.
Yeah.
And he said he hates the idea of the big London show. I don't know if it's the same in America, where it's like the big LA show or the big New York show, where like all of your team come and like you have loads of friends in town, and it's usually those shows that I just get like sensory overload. Like I just don't like it.
I don't like them.
Yeah, there we go.
Everyone else loves them. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to play in New York. I like to play in LA. I
Mhm.
like to play in Seattle. Those are the places I know the most people.
Mm-hmm.
I like to visit with people.
Mhm.
I like to play there, but I don't like to do both at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's
overwhelming.
distracting to the show,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a plan. Trying to focus on the show is detractive
Yeah,
from your ability to connect with your friends.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
you're
That's it.
sort of distracted from both events.
Yeah, I'm so glad, like,
which sucks.
I'm so glad we have today as a day off. Like, so, I mean, for those who don't know, we're in Seattle at the moment and we're playing tomorrow night. And I'm so relieved because now, like, thanks to the Duff tour and thanks to our involvement with the Pearl Jam guys, which we'll probably get onto, we've got so many friends in Seattle, so many people I want to see for a coffee. But like, trying to do it on a show day is just, you come to like 7 o'clock and you're backstage just like, oh, 2 hours until we're on.
Right.
Oh, like, it's just totally. Social battery is like a real thing I've learned from touring.
Okay, so you do that band. What was that band called?
The second band I was in was called Oceans Apart.
Oceans Apart.
Yeah.
And how long did you do that band?
That was like a good like 3 or 4 years again. So we're like 8 years into the
8 years into
the
your
addiction.
career.
Yeah, in my career. There we go. And I was fully in at this point. I'd also started like. I'll try not to spend too long talking about this because I want to get onto the current stuff. But
Of course.
whilst I was in Oceans Apart, that's when I discovered punk and hardcore, which is like a big. I feel like I should talk about that because it's like a big part of who I am. I remember my first hardcore show. So my friends who came and moshed to like my band, they were already in like the hardcore scene, but it was almost like if that weird crossover where like, you know, well, of course hardcore kids are into metal and punk and hardcore. You know, it's a big melting pot.
Sure.
But so I was loosely aware of hardcore shows, but I'd never been to like a real hardcore show. The closest I'd been was like mosh into like Unearth or like Parkway Drive or something when I was younger. And that's still in like a big, at the time those bands were big already. So those are like still big like O2 Academy kind of venues.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never been to a proper small hardcore show, and the band Terror were in town, and I was pretty scared. I watched like a few videos online, and there was this local band opening who were like, it was funny. I don't actually think it was ever, there was this local band that had a kind of like weird like lore around them. They were called Brutality Will Prevail. And they had this almost like
Tough name.
Yeah, it's a tough name. And they had like a video of them with like, they did the whole almost like, I don't want to say the FSU thing, but they did the whole like scary tough hard. It was the first like scary tough hardcore thing. Like I know those guys now, and they're like super nice soft dudes, like who probably like come from pretty like, I don't want to offend them, they probably come from pretty like chill backgrounds, but they're in like a local burnt out church with like pit bulls, and the dude's playing like a flying V and doing like fucking a stomp, and everyone like the video has like all their friends throwing down, and I was like, don't do that, I'll get killed, these guys are gonna stab me, you know, like. And so anyway, I went to the Terror show and watched the first band. I kind of like stayed far back because it was violent, like it was like a lot, like it was the first time I'd ever seen people getting hit like right next to me. I was like, oh, this is this okay? Is it like, what is this? Like, I kind of love it. Should I love it? It was like, then.
Plus from your rugby background.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? I was a coward when it came to rugby though. I kind of only got in the rugby teams because I was tall. It was like they were kind of, I don't know if grooming's the appropriate term, but it felt like they were like, this guy is 13 and he's 6'6".
Right.
He's in. Like he's on the team. But so I was actually I'm a softie. I really am. And I was scared, and then Terror came on, and I'd been like non-stop listening. Again at that age you do your research. You listen to every song. I think they played the song Stick Tight, and it was no barrier either. I'd never been to a show without a barrier before. There's still a lot of people, like 300 people, 400 people, but no barrier. People are crowd surfing. I go to the front because it's actually kind of safer than the pit. And I'm at the front just kind of loving it. And Scott Vogel just hands me the mic for like the main kind of like bit. And I like look at my friends and I just kind of just grab it and do like the kind of mic grabby, you know. I stick tight, do my friends. And then I just kind of like something like comes across me and I just kind of like push myself back and just start getting in the pit and like after that, like it was kind of cute. Like all my friends like hugged me and I was like, yeah, like you did the bit. And I was just like hooked. I was like the rush from that. I was just like, I'm fully in. Whatever this is, I don't know what it is, but I'm in.
Right.
And then my life for like the next 2 years was just like borderline, like just obsessed with like hardcore music. But I think I that's in my nature as well though, because even like I was saying earlier with when I got into hip hop, when I was playing the Tony Hawk's games, I knew everything about like who's on this mixtape and who's friends with this and who's got beef and nowadays I feel like for someone who's not from Seattle, I have like an encyclopedic knowledge of like the Seattle scene, weirdly. Like, you know, I know everything from, you know, I know all about Mother Love Bone, I know all about Green River, I know about Tad, you know, like it's weird. I get obsessed with like the, you know, just going on a Wikipedia and then finding out who does what and who does this. So hardcore's the perfect kind of music for that because everyone's in like 10 bands.
Was there a band between Oceans Apart and
No, it was more like Oceans Apart was coming to a bit of a natural end, and hardcore kids were coming to our shows, and it was almost like our shows were like, again, it was that kind of weird crossover of like hardcore and metal kind of coexisting. But I was finding that I was getting way more into hardcore. I never actually did a hardcore band. I suppose this goes on. I suppose this can segue into my first real career band, which isn't Cold Gun. It's a band called Holding Absence.
Oh, okay.
That band started off. It was supposed to start off as like a melodic hardcore band, kind of like it never sounded like this. For anyone who's going to try and check out the early stuff, it was supposed to sound like stuff like Go It Alone and like Have Heart and all that kind of like, you know, like just a punk beat and like melodic, like actually kind of nice guitars, like emotional chords and stuff, and really deep lyrics. But that never, I don't know how, but that never ended up sounding like that. It actually ended up becoming just like a rock band, really, or post-hardcore band. And then this is where I circle back to the kids I first met when I was 15, who did the covers gig.
Right.
The guys in that band that I started that new band with, it was those dudes, and they'd been doing this post-hardcore band for about 8 years at this point, and they were sick. Like they were like, and that their band kind of naturally ended, and me and the singer became really good friends just through the scene, and he kind of like earmarked me as like, he was like, you're the dude that makes stuff happen. And then he was like the best singer in the town. So we formed a band, and that was called Holding Absence. I'm missing out a few other steps. For anyone who actually knows the history, there's kind of no point. There was different singers before him, who are some of my best friends. But like, for want of trying to make the story shorter,
sure.
Basically, yeah, me and the dude who was fronting the cover band when I was 15 ended up forming a band together. And it was because he was the best singer, because he'd had like 8 years of becoming a frontman singer, and I'd had 8 years of just like, at this point I was putting on shows, I was booking like bands from overseas. I was like the guy in Cardiff that would just get things done, you know. And yeah, we formed with a few other people who'd been in other cool bands in the scene, and we actually like got signed off like I think it was like the first song we put out, actually. Fun fact as well. This is weird. I'm wearing this shirt in the first video we ever put out. That's
Nice.
weird. That makes me feel old and stinky. Shit, that was like 10 years ago.
I probably have some T-shirts
yeah.
that I've had since before you played guitar.
Okay, good. That makes me feel good. They're a part of you, aren't they?
That's right.
So yeah, that band was called Holding Absence, and the best way to explain that band is like, again, somewhere between Silverstein and Alexis on Fire, Under Oath, all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
The band.
You're still not singing.
I'm still not singing. I'm playing bass. I'm still playing bass.
Still playing bass.
Still playing bass.
Okay.
Fancying singing. Like, I was so close to fronting a hardcore band, and since then I have done a few little bits, but nothing worth talking about. Yeah, so still playing bass. Still pretty shy, to be honest. Good on emails. Really good on emails. Like, giving it the big one on emails. Booking shows, like making flyers. But yeah, still shy. Still couldn't look someone in the eye. Like, but yeah, that band actually got signed like really quickly. I think it was a mix of like the singer. So the singer's a guy called Lucas. And even though we had a little falling out when I left that band, which we'll come to, we're like friends again now. And at the time, he had a good following. Everyone was kind of excited to see what he would do next.
Sure.
Because, there was a lot of people that didn't think their old band should have stopped. Basically, one of the core members of their old band left, and everyone was like, "We'll just replace him." But instead, they kind of just decided to stop.
Right.
And it felt like a shame. Their last show was like one of the best. Their last show was like one of the best local shows ever, in my opinion. So everyone was excited to see what he would do. There was another couple of dudes again who had similar things. Their bands had kind of just kind of died out. Maybe people were excited. I guess people just knew that I was a good guy to have in a band because I booked the shows locally and stuff like that.
Sure.
So we came together. We released like one song. It did really well. Played a bunch of cool like local supports. It was cool as well because I could get us like, I kind of did that thing where I'd book like a sick touring band and then we'd be the opener. But something you just got to do what you got to do, Like,
right.
So that happened, and then the record label Sharp Tone Records had just started, which is it's a dude called Sean Keith. I think Sean used to work with Sumerian, if I'm right. I might be wrong though. He's a really cool guy. Him and another guy called Sal, they started this record label called Sharp Tone, and Sharp Tone made an offer straight away, and we were like, oh my god, like we never, because that was never the plan. Like, to be honest, when we started that band, it's really hard to remember a time when music wasn't, now it's we think about our career so much. It's trying to keep the dream alive, now.
Sure.
Every decision we make, unfortunately, is career driven. At this time, we were just doing a band because we wanted to make something cool, which, it sounds sad to admit that that's, it's like this youthful innocence of like,
it's a balance still, right?
Yeah. We wanted to be the best local band.
Cool.
Yeah, we wanted to be good. But we never thought career was not a.
Well, you had a job then. You had a job and
multiple. Yeah.
It's hard to fully commit yourself and have a job.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, it was. I suppose it was like a
combination.
natural. It was like a natural progression to like, whoa, we could actually do this. And I think through meeting touring bands, and I booked bands in the little venue I was running in Cardiff. I booked bands who weren't massive. They were like what I like to call like working. I think every musician is now, but like a working man's band where it's like, they can tour, they can do amazing things. They have to tour all year round, otherwise it's not financially viable.
Right.
And for most punk and hardcore bands, that's the case. So I was meeting a lot of these bands and being like, wow, you can actually do it. You can really go to other countries with your music. So I had a little belief, but again, career didn't come into it. Anyway, we signed to Sharp Tone, put out first album, did really great. Toured lots, like did our first like big tours, like you said earlier, where we're following buses. We toured some notable bands that we toured with, like it was like probably the most notable like American band we toured with was like that band Sleeping with Sirens.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a few cool support things. We played Download Festival.
What year?
Aerosmith headlined, I think it was like 2016, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016. Did a bunch of stuff. Went to Germany for the first time. Experienced the German catering for the first time, and the Fritz Cola and all that kind of stuff. Then did 2 albums with that band. Kind of had a turbulent time making the second album. Like a really turbulent time making the second album. It was kind of just like I'd gotten a lot more confident and a lot more opinionated, I think, and I'd realized maybe I was slowly becoming maybe like in the back of my mind, like ready to be a frontman in a sense.
Right.
I never it was weird though. It wasn't necessarily that I wanted to be the frontman of that band, but the band, I think it's fair to say that band, because, so Lucas, the singer's great. I think it's fair to say that like that band became a band where it's like singer and the dudes. And I feel like nobody wants to admit that. And the guys would be hurt if they heard me say this, but it's true. Like, a lot of bands in that kind of style of music, the singer becomes the focus and the band are in the background, and the singer gets to have the final say on what songs make it, what style, what the video is going to look like. And I think we were having a little bit of like creative differences. So I was in a weird place where I was like, we're still not making money. Touring's fun and amazing and I'm having a great time, but like, is this the band I want to kind of do for the rest of my life? Because it felt like it was at a time as well, the band was kind of going like this. There wasn't time for side projects. There wasn't, or at least, maybe in hindsight I could have probably stayed in that band and then done, I could have probably gotten to where I am with my new band quicker if I'd have managed to juggle them. You never know, because my old band's like pretty big now in especially back home. Like, I think they're doing a lot in America and stuff as well.
They continued.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I think like I don't want to talk about like numbers, but they've got like 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify. So they're a good sized, sustainable career for all of them now.
Right.
Yeah, we had a bit of a falling out after making the second record. I decided that I would do the first little bit of touring and the first few videos for the second record. But one day I was just walking and I was just like, look, I'm out. And it was so strange because I'd made the decision during COVID. So this was in 2020. Yeah, 2020. So touring had stopped. And I think touring and how much I love touring, that was the only thing that was keeping me still in that band. Because I didn't want to let go of, like, I had a calendar for the first time that was like, you're going to be going to Australia. You're going to be going to, America. I'd never been. So I'd only ever done UK and Europe with that band. Because COVID happened, it stopped touring, Dead and Extracts, and it was like 3 months into that we had the lockdown. You had lockdowns as well. We had the lockdowns, and so 3 months, no live music. I'd almost forgotten how the buzz that I got from playing live. And I was like, I'm kind of fine with leaving my band. It's kind of fine. Like, I'll do another one. Like, I didn't really think about the magnitude of the decision. I didn't think about the like 4 or 5 years of work I'd put into that band. And it was just on the tip of like, kind of what I don't like to say big, but like
about to break.
Yeah, it really was like about to become a sustainable career for everyone. And I quit. And I remember being fine with it like a month, and I was weirdly at peace with it until the lockdowns opened back up. And because my old band was like one of the sort of best bands in the UK at the time, they got on like all the first things that came back. So there was like the Download Festival did like they called it the Download Pilot, and it was like a reduced capacity version of Download Festival. And, like, my band was on the main stage. My old band was on the main stage for that. And then like the restrictions for COVID started getting, easing off slowly but surely. And then they announced like, good news, guys, we're doing our first like tour of America. And like, I was at home just like, what have I done? Like seeing my best friends who I'd sort of fallen out with, like in Florida for the first time, in Disneyland, or like in New York for the first time. And I was just like at home. So this is where the story, I'm good at telling the story because I've told the story loads of times, but it's got lots of little, so feel free to stop me.
No, go. Okay. This is great.
I'd gotten into running as a form of meditation, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I was sober at this point. And I think, I've always had an addictive personality. And again, I think that's why I was the dude in the bands who would book the shows and make the t-shirts and drive the band and would literally live and breathe the band to the point where it's borderline pretty sad. But I think we're all the same. Like that's why we're here.
That's right.
So yeah, I put my addiction into that, I suppose. I got into running as a form of like meditation. I used to hate running. I would always try and run and I'd get a stitch like immediately, until one day I met this dude who plays in a pretty like legendary band from Wales called Future of the Left, a guy called Jimmy. And he runs a thing called Running Punks, which is
I love that dude.
Okay, and he does the running reviews.
Yeah.
Shout out Jimmy.
He's
Shout
amazing.
He's one of my best friends. We've become really close. I've only known him since 2020.
Right.
But he's such a big part of my life now. He's such a like ray of. He is exactly how he comes across.
His.
I'm glad you know about that,
videos
because
are
that'll make
incredible.
telling this way more. It'll make so much more sense.
Awesome.
So
Go.
I got into running. I asked Jimmy for some advice because he sort of I was always getting stitches. My knees would hurt, my shins would hurt, blah blah blah. Spoke to him and he was like, "Dude, just try running slow." He was like, "Do you? Chances are you're leaving the house, bolting to like a block away, and going home just like nope." I did my first slow run, and I live in a place called Cardiff Bay, and it's got this beautiful like loop. It's like any kind of bay area, kind of in a city. But there's a way you can like loop it around. And there's a point where you're 2 miles away from where I live, and it just looks like so far away. And for the first time in my life, I was able to run like 2 miles from my house. And I look across the water to like kind of roughly where I live, and I was like, it's amazing. And that's when the addiction kind of kicked in.
Right.
And dude, like a month later, I'd done my first marathon. A slow, horrible, like bleeding nipples,
But
toenails falling off.
right.
But I'd like run to England. Like my girlfriend was like, where are you? And I was like, you haven't been home all day. I was like, I'm in Bristol. There's actually like I don't know if you've seen the show Peep Show. It's like big in the UK. I don't know if it's big or it's like the funniest show ever. It's very British humor. It's I forget their full names, but Mitchell and Webb are the guys. And there's this character who's like a drug addict. And he gets into running, and there's a scene where he's like, "I've run to Windsor," and it's like the other end of the country. It's very much like a Super Hands moment. That's his name. Anyway, Jimmy starts Running Punks, which is supposed to be a community in Cardiff for people in. It started out as just a couple of people in the local music scene who just wanted to get fitter, and like after COVID, I think maybe there was points of that.
Sure.
I think there was points where it was like. Because we had like lockdown, life restored, lockdown, life restored. There was a bit of like, there wasn't just one big lockdown for us. It was like, we were in the clear, then we weren't, I think.
During that period, a lot of people got a little loose.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, they did. So this running club started, and it was all people from bands, and it was all centered around this rehearsal studio in Cardiff, which is like the main like pro rehearsal studio. Started going on these club runs, meeting loads of great people. Then I met a lovely person on one of the runs, a guy called Steve Wrongpop, and he worked for a homelessness charity in London. And he used to be like a punk promoter. He used to be a bassist in bands as well. He was one of Jimmy's friends who came to the runs. He said, "Oh, I'm putting together a compilation record for the charity. Jimmy says you're in a band. Would you give us a song?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, man." Like, no, didn't think anything of it. Like, it's like a Bandcamp sampler. Like, you literally send him an MP3. It's no biggie. Then what happened? That was one of the first ever James and the Cold Gun songs. So I've skipped. How am I going to do this without? Okay, so James and the Cold Guns just started. That's like the first song, and I'm really not sure if lightning's going to strike twice, in the sense that I just left a career band just before it became a career band. Started this other band.
You're singing.
I'm singing as well for the first time. And to be honest, I didn't think it was going to work. I was kind of slowly coming to the realization that I'd made the worst decision ever about leaving my old band. And I think a lot of my close friends as well were like, it was hard because I would go for coffees with my close friends and I was like, I think I've made the right decision. They're like, yeah, man, yeah. And then my band's song would come on the radio. Or like my local record store like made a mural of my old band.
Right.
Without me. And I was just there like, do you think I've made the right decision?
And they're like, totally?
Yeah, dude. You could always do another band. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I've got another band. They're like, oh cool, what are you, like, who have you got? I was like, oh, I'm singing. And they were kind of like, oh, wow, all right.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. And I felt it. Like, and even like, I think my girlfriend's always been in my corner, but even with her, I think she was just like, oh, nice one. You said you were, because the thing is, she's put up with, at this point, she'd put up with like 5 years of me being like, trust me, Holding Absence is going to be one of the biggest bands in the UK.
Yeah.
It's fucking true. Like the day after I left, So she's like, what have you? Yeah. She's like, what do you mean you're doing another one? I was like, yeah, another one, It'll only take like 5 years to get back.
Yeah, what's a big deal?
So yeah, I need to give her some props right now as well for putting up with me. But so the dude gets the compilation song, and lo and behold, DJ Kevin Cole, the legend from KEXP, he, for some reason, I think he was a fan of Jimmy, the runner guy. He was a fan of one of his bands, Future of the Left. They were kind of like a culty band in America in the like noise rock sort of scene. And so because they kind of knew each other, Kev Cole became like the first international running punk. Like he has the t-shirt and stuff. And to support the charity and running punks and the homelessness thing, he started playing the compilation on air on his drive time show. And but out of all the songs, there were some cool songs. There were songs by like the band Idols on there, songs by Meatwave, Dream Nails. There was loads of cool bands on there. For some reason, Kev Cole picked our song, like the smallest band on the compilation, played it like on the hour, every hour when he could. And that is when Mr. Stone Gossard from Pearl Jam heard it. He was driving around Seattle listening to KEXP, and he heard our song. And I'm going to have to take one step back now to get an interesting part. Whilst this was all happening, I horrifically broke my leg falling down some stairs. This is a pretty mad story.
So you can't run.
Can't run. I literally, like, I don't know if you're squeamish, but like my toes were facing my ass. It was bad.
I had a similar break.
Oh, really? Okay.
Spiral fracture.
Yeah.
Toes in the fold of my knee.
James B, so the other James in James and the Cold Gun, takes great pleasure just before we go on stage. He follows, I know he's a sick bastard. He follows some like Instagram page, like worst people breaking bones ever.
Right.
And every day I wake up and I'm like, like just waking up ready. How am I going to start my day? And I'm like, oh, Jay, what's he sent me? And it's just some dude's like leg hanging out like a skateboarder down like a 10 set. Yeah. He loves watching me squirm because I think I have like PTSD from that. Like it was.
It's gnarly.
Yeah. It really. I remember when it happened. It happened because I was noodling on guitar in my flat really early one morning. I'm like just noodling. When you hold a guitar, like even like on my first guitar lesson, you can't not like play.
Yeah.
I'm wandering down the stairs and I just slipped and I just fell the whole flight of stairs. Totally.
Oh.
Yeah. Not good.
How's the guitar?
The guitar was all right, and it was one of James B's guitars, so I'm glad it was all right. Cool. Yeah, it was a really nice.
Is it that
SG.
amazing Ricky?
No, that is an amazing guitar though. Maybe I should give it a few dents just to get back at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember looking down and seeing it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, if you'd have interviewed me the day before that happened and said, what are like 3 things you hope hope never happen to you? One would be like, obviously touch wood, but like car accident.
Right.
Leg facing the wrong way.
Yeah,
Cancer.
sure.
Those are the 3 probably. And so I looked down, I was like, oh my God. And I just went into shock. Anyway, we went to the hospital. I'm gonna try not to tell too much of the story, but I got to the hospital and I'm waiting in the queue, and the queue was crazy because it was still COVID times. And it's getting bigger and like it's getting more and more swollen. I'm waiting in this queue and I'm like, I'm wondering if I should like push in because I feel like the people in front of me just have coughs and colds. Like, and then luckily one doctor looked down and he was like, oh, and I was like, whoa, and he was like, yeah, you need to come right through now. And I was like, oh, I looked at my girlfriend as they like took me away from him. I was like, this is the end. Anyway, because
I'm going to cut it off.
Yeah, honestly, I thought, because I'm quite big as well, the worst part about the whole experience is the first team of doctors who saw me, or nurse doctors, they gave me this pen to suck on to take away the pain as they tried to reset it. Nobody was strong enough to reset it because I'm like, you know, for those who can't tell, I'm like 6'7", 6'8", and like fairly like stocky, and my leg had swollen so much at this point that like nobody was strong enough to like. So they were like, "Okay, don't panic. We're gonna dose you up on morphine. There's a strong doctor just having his lunch. He's gonna like like quickly eat like some powerlifting doctor." Just gonna, like, quickly eat his like chicken and rice. Chicken, yeah. And luckily he managed to put it right, but it was harrowing. Yeah, it was because when they weren't when I was just there like with a team of people and they were struggling to put it back, I was just like I was just there like crying, just like sucking this pen. It was like some sort of weird like super drug. You know, I want to know how you get some more of that stuff. Right. it was. I remember they were like, the funny thing is the nurses were laughing so much because I was straight edge for like 5-6 years at that point. I was there like feet back for him, like with the nurses, like, yo, like what are we doing after this? My girlfriend's just there like, I hate this guy.
What is happening?
So, break legs like really badly broken. I go in for surgery the next day, have surgery. Just it's a bummer. I have to move home with my mum. So because like I couldn't climb stairs, I could barely like wipe my own ass. Like I luckily managed to wipe, but it was not ideal. I couldn't really cook a meal very easily because I had to keep it elevated for the first few weeks as well. So now I am bandless, sort of, apart from one song with the new band that I didn't believe in, and nobody else believed in it. Luckily, James B did. Shout out James B from Colgan. Like, yeah, nobody believed in it. I'm at home with a broken leg, living back with my mum, and like I'm feeling like I'm getting on a little, like, you know, I feel like maybe the ship has sailed, you know, like because I'm like 27.
Right, is this a sign?
Yeah. I was like, okay. Then one evening, I'm like lying in bed, like so depressed, like the most like depressed I've ever been in my, other than maybe when I was on the booze and stuff, but the most depressed I've ever been since I've been sober. And I get this message on Instagram on the James and the Colgan Instagram, and it's like, I think it's from like the Loose Groove Records page, but like their page at the time was like nothing. It basically looked like a dead Instagram, like a bot account. And it's like, hey, it's Stone ... from Pearl Jam. I like listen to song on radio, rockin'. Let's talk.
Right.
See ya. So I was like, I was just like, not fucking. I threw the phone in bed, went to sleep. I was like, I just
fuck off.
Yeah, I'm just upset. I was just like you know, just and again, open my phone. For seconds before that, I've like seen my best friends in Disneyland.
Right.
or with their hero. It's just like, oh man, it's like what have I done to deserve this? Anyway, I decided like the next morning, I was like, reply back, oh wow, like no, I googled Loose Groove Records, and I was like, I'd never heard of Loose Groove Records, I didn't know what that was. Turns out they started back in like
90s.
In the 90s, and they put out a few Seattle releases.
Yeah.
But their one big success is they put out the first Queens of the Stone Age record.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, okay, well, this is spelt correct. This is like a legit page. It does say like owned by Stone Gossard and Regan Hagar. Maybe this is a thing. So I replied back like, hey, like, you know, let's send me an email if you're actually keen, like if this is real. Seconds later, like my email goes and it's like, it's Stone, but with all like the proper like, basically the Loose Grooves, what's the word? Distributed by this company called The Orchard, like big, huge international distribution company. So suddenly all these people with proper like, you know, blah 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 at Sony, blah 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 at The Orchard is CC'd in. I'm like, no, I'm like, this is the dude from Pearl Jam. He's actually listened to our song, because it sounds so ridiculous, doesn't it? Our first song that's on a homelessness compilation that gets played in Seattle by chance, and a dude from one of the biggest bands ever is listening to it and wants to sign you because of it. That's just like a miracle, I would say.
It works to be helpful.
Yeah.
You were like,
honestly,
yeah, I would like to be involved in a charitable event.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, yeah, there we go. anyone else wants another song, feed the world.
Exactly. But I mean, whatever.
No.
Advice for young people. Play
Dude.
benefit shows.
And I will say, actually, like, you never know what little thing you could do. Like, there's been a few moments like that where I like to think that maybe, like, I'm not going to come on here and try and sound like, perfect person, but I always try and keep that punk rock kind of, bring other people up and like treat other people like you want to be treated. It's simple. I mean, everyone should.
Of course.
It doesn't even need to be a punk rock thing. It should just be a human thing.
The golden rule.
And there's been a few times. There was a time recently where, so I play Fender guitars at the moment, but I really wanted a Gibson guitar. I haven't got it yet, but I found out that the dude who like runs Gibson in the UK, he knew of me already because I'd helped his son's band get a gig. And he was like, "Oh, you were really nice to my son. Of course I'll give you some discount." I was like, "Whoa." I was really nice to that kid just randomly because I was in a good mood that day and I wanted to help. So it's funny how those things happen.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And also, being nice is...
Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice.
It makes you feel good. It really does. I think my favorite thing about...
And it makes other people feel good.
100%.
If you're kind to someone...
Paying it forward. My favorite thing about, like, living the dream, so to speak, now is, like, I have so much... I feel like it really puts me in a mindset where I want to help other people. Like, because I'm so appreciative every day. Like, it's the water time, like, thing. Like,
yeah. What a time.
I would do anything for anyone right now just to keep doing what I'm doing. Like, I want to bring other people up. That's it. Like, yeah. It also comes from like just worshiping like Joe Strummer when I was younger as well. Like, I think that guy taught me a lot. But
so the conversation with Stone goes pretty well.
Insanely well. So we're actually in. Okay, so we're in Hull on tour at this point, and I have a broken leg, so I'm doing the whole Dave Grohl thing, where I've got
you're in a wheelchair.
I'm in a wheelchair, and I stand up for half the set until my legs kind of swells up too much, and I'm like, okay, like I'll sit back down. We're in Hull. There's a funny story about a tooth that do I have time to tell you this?
Sure. How is the band how is the band growing at this point organically, like, without Stone's involvement?
Not well. Like, I mean, like, it's just the reality that when I quit my old band, I totally forgot about the 5 years of hardship. All I was thinking about was the creative differences that felt like massively, in hindsight, like do I care that much about creative? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
If I'd have known how like far that band was going to get, who knows? I don't really like to think too much about what ifs. But
well, you've got a great situation now.
Yeah, super. Like, definitely, everything's come up Millhouse. Like I am now doing the band I always dreamt of doing that I never thought I'd have the confidence to do. But the reality that 5 years of hard work, it would take at least maybe 5 years of hard work of playing small clubs in cold British towns to like 5 people. I was like, oh, got to do all that again. Because the first time you do it, it's fun. Like, a lot of the time you're drunk or you're just high on life because, like, we were excited to be in Hull for the first time. We were excited to be in Birmingham for the first time. When it's your second time around and you're back kind of the lower leagues, you are kind of, it's just harder, isn't it? I mean, I think any band that does like an underplay tour, like, the shows are probably sick, but like, it is hard. It's harder. You get used to.
It feels like a step backwards.
Yeah. So we're in Hull, got a broken leg, doing the whole Dave Grohl thing, and Stone does his first Zoom call with us. Oh, I'll tell you about the hostel real quick. 'Cause this is one of my best hostel stories. So you have hostels over here, motels, hostels, and like just the we're staying in a hostel in Hull, which is like pretty much as low as it gets, to be honest. Like, it's like it's rough, and we have a pretty good night's sleep anyway. There's like classic like bunk beds, and the only rule with the place was it was like surprisingly warm as well, so we were pretty happy. The only rule with the place was like, in the morning, guys, you got to strip the beds and put all the bed in like this box, like it's super cheap. It was like, we're talking like 30 quid for the whole band to stay there. Anyway, so fine night's sleep. Good show, blah, blah, blah. We're stripping the bed the next morning, and James B's bed is just like covered in blood. And we're just like, and it, but it's old stained blood. We've seen worse. Yeah. it's kind of gross, but we're like, oh well, no bed bugs, just blood. It's kind of sad that's like,
Right.
that's just so fine. But then he goes to take the pillow up, and he like recoils. There's a full molar under the pillow that some drunk dude the night before has obviously stayed there, kind of stumbled in, like banged his like face
Lost
probably
a
on
tooth.
whilst climbing into the bunk bed, kind of like pulled it out and been like, this is what I assume happened. Pulled out the whole, and molars are scared. Like molars look long. It looked like yeah. Placed it under the pillow.
Thinking he'd maybe
Get a bit of moolah,
money,
get it, stay in the Marriott instead. But yeah, that's one of my best stories. Like the tooth in Hull is a classic.
Wow.
If anyone ever asks how touring is, how's touring with Duff McKagan? I'm like, oh, amazing. But we have
check out this tooth
we've
story.
done our time. Like, we does it. It's not always like that. Anyway, Stone Zoom calls us that night. It was very much the Zoom time, and Stone jumps on, and we're shy. Like, I just don't know, had no idea what the guy's going to be like. I was a fan of Pearl Jam, maybe not enough of a fan to truly know much about Stone as an individual. I probably knew, I knew about Eddie. I knew about a little bit about Matt Cameron because I'm a Soundgarden fan. Didn't know much about Stone. Stone jumps on, and he's just gushing with like compliments about our EP that had come out at this point. Like things like the lyric at like 2 minutes 47 really touched me. The bridge and the way it goes into the second bar of this. I was like, you've actually listened? Because prior to this, I don't want to slag off anyone in my past, but like I've worked with a lot of A&R people. Half the time, like they're just drunk and I don't know if they could name you a song of your band. You're like, okay,
right.
name me your favorite song that's not the single. They don't know, but they know where the free bar is that your band is paying for.
Sure.
None of that from Stone. It was like pure music. And he was like, right, how are we going to help? How do you want us to help? And I was like, I kind of got ballsy. I was like, just sign us for a couple of albums. And he was like, yeah, okay, great, let's do it. I just looked at James B. I was like, yo, we just come out of the Tooth Hostel. And now the guy from Pearl Jam signed us.
That was the next day.
Yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy. Haven't looked back since. Genuinely, like, they're everyone we've met through that band, through that kind of ecosystem, just seems like they're in it for the right reasons. Like, so like, it's all about the music and it's all about like community and like, it's really nice to see because I was jaded as well at this point, mega jaded, and so yeah, we signed to Loose Groove and the rest is history, really. Yeah.
You're currently on tour. You've got this is the last show.
Last show, yeah, tomorrow at the
with
Croc.
Thunderpussy.
Yeah.
Fun band.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best. Like, I felt bad because when we toured with you guys, it seems disingenuous now because it was like we toured with your band with the Duff McKagan band, and we were like, these guys are awesome, like the funnest band ever, and we're being very vocal, like we're best friends with these guys, like we love these guys, and then the next tour we do, it's the same again with Thunderpussy.
Well, there's a camaraderie that happens on tour. You're with people. Mm-hmm. Every day, right?
It really is.
And it doesn't always go like that.
It really doesn't. No, it really doesn't. It's been a few times where I've given a little dent in someone's drum kit when they haven't striked it for us.
Sure.
You got to though, when you're in like 100 cap venue and the drummer like has overheads and doesn't want to strike the kit, just a little.
Sure. I think people are doing their best. Mm-hmm. Sometimes their best isn't any good.
I like that. That. The thing is, the thing I've noticed about my short time in the music industry compared to, people like yourself, the people who are at the top or like the people that are doing well tends to be the good people. Like, for example, I've been on tour. We've done tour supports where we were playing 100 cap venues and the band were like assholes to us. We come on tour with Duff McKagan, and you guys, everyone in your band is like a veteran, played for amazing people. And like, I think one of the first things Duff said, like, you guys need a hand loading in. It's like, what? At this point, we were still giddy because it was like the dude that we've had posters of in our rooms and the dude who, Velvet Revolver on the TV when I was 13. And he's there like, you guys want a hand loading in? By the way, there's some great chocolate downstairs. It's like, what? Like,
the people who are operating at a higher level are not they don't feel like they're in competition with anyone. And so
this is true.
What else is there to do except for to be kind?
Yeah, this is true. I think when you're in it for the right reasons as well, like, Duff doesn't need to make more music. He could have cashed out 20 years ago. But he's making arguably some of his best music and doing it for all the right reasons. I think that we were all super inspired by that, because it was like everyone in your band, like everyone was so about the music and like you guys every night were like becoming tighter and tighter and tighter. It was like so.
Well, it's a brand new band.
Yeah,
you saw our first
day one
show.
I have to laugh. I remember when hearing Jeff and he was like, I think a few of the song titles have like quite similarly. It was like, is this like falling down or falling? And then,
yeah, no, there's
like, no, you're playing the chords to the other one. It's like, but yeah, seeing you guys who've been around for the amount of time that you have, still honing your craft and doing it for the love and making the show always came first. So inspiring to us as a band who are just about to enter. We're only just about to hit like full-time touring times,
right,
this year come in probably, and it was inspiring for us. So.
That's amazing.
And thank you for being cool to us. Everyone was super cool to us.
What else is there?
Yeah, this is true.
If you guys were dicks, it would have been different.
Ken would have beaten our asses. Ken scared us, but I was so glad we got broke. The first day I made him laugh, I was like, all right, because I was like Duff's band is so nice, but Ken, I'm not sure, I'm scared of him. And then like 3 days in, I think it was like he did the classic TM thing where he was like a hard ass. And then
he's he's business.
As soon as he saw that we would get our cabs off like within like 30 seconds, we were cool with him. Like,
of course.
Like he was like, and it was so nice to see, like, by the end of the tour, like he was offering to help us with everything. It's such a good dude. Like, and we got to hear his life story and stuff, and like, yeah, and super inspiring. Super inspiring.
Shit he's done.
Yeah, man. Like, what a badass.
TJ is who we're talking about for people.
Oh yeah, TJ.
Yeah, legendary figure.
Oh, absolutely.
Worked for Billy Gibbons, Prince.
Do you know the Josh Freese story with the Vandals? This is a good one. If not, I'm telling his story.
I feel like he did something ridiculous.
He set the kit up back to front, as in left-handed. Right. And I think Josh Freese just went with it because like he'd never done drum tech before. And he was like, "Oh, thanks for making it difficult for me tonight, or more interesting for me tonight." But obviously, I think TJ said that like he was worried at that point that it was like game over, because some bands, would be, but they
right.
Again, punk rockers, good people. Josh Freese seems like a good guy.
Yeah. You play tomorrow night though, and go back home immediately, or do you have any business?
We go home immediately because with the time difference as well, we fly back on the 22nd. Which means we get to London on the 23rd, and then it's driving back from London. So we're basically the Christmas Eve.
What's next for you guys?
We have a new record.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have a new record. I might give you the scoop on this because I think I'm in charge of this band. I think I can do what I want. I don't know. Like, basically, we have a new record coming out, and I really like it. I think it's great. We recorded part of it in Litho in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Then me being an asshole scrapped a lot of the amazing stuff from that and redid it through like a little Focusrite interface. Uh-huh. Not the Neve, the amazing Neve desk that's there.
Well,
I think like a lot can be said for just having more time in your bedroom and feeling more comfortable. Like,
sure.
But yeah, we have a record done. We did it totally DIY. Myself and James B. James B is like my musical hero. I think like we're very much like a yin and yang kind of thing. Like I'm all vibe and playing things in the wrong. He's like, if you could just move that one finger to the note,
it would be a lot easier.
In key. I'm like, I really like the note that's. No, I'm like, I get like stubborn as well. I'm like, sounds fine to me. He's like, no, trust me. It's like he is like trained as well. But it works well. I think it's cool to have a mix of like vibe.
Yeah,
and,
of course. My
whole thing is like, I think David Bowie said it, but it's like the more you know, the less you feel. That's what I like to say anyway.
Well,
but I'm just lazy.
I think there's truth.
And sheet music scares me, so.
Sure.
But yeah, we did it. We did it all DIY. Myself and James B. A lot of long hours just in our little garage back home. We mixed it ourselves, and then last minute, the legendary Brendan O'Brien jumped on board. Stone sent him the mixes just to see what he thought. It wasn't even like trying to get him to work on it. It was like, hey, I've got this band. The guys have mixed it themselves. What do you think?
Right.
And you know, Brendan doesn't really work with many people anymore. And he said, oh, look, I like it. Like, you know, this is terribly mixed. Like, this isn't a mix. You know, I don't know how to mix. Like, I don't know, me, nor does James B. He was like, it's great. I like it. It's not mixed though. Like, this is definitely not mixed. So he was like, look, I've got a week before I do like another like massive, God knows what he's probably doing right now. He was like, do you want me to just mix it?
Springsteen.
Yeah, probably. Like, he was like, do you want me to just mix it? Stone rings us. He's like, guys, you're not going to believe this. Brendan O'Brien's going to mix the record just like as a favor. He's into it. Like, please, like, don't be an asshole to him. I was like, yeah, sounds pretty. Because I was so attached to my version.
Right.
I was like, what's he done? It took me like a few days to realize how amazing he's made it sound. Those first few days, I was like, that shaker needs to come up 1 dB, or I'm gonna, you know, like, or things like,
because it was a prominent thing in your mix.
Well, there's like a squeaky noise that my guitar made that I loved, and you've gotten rid of it. You've ruined my. But no, he's made it sound. It sounds legit. And I think Stone
taking it to the next level.
Oh yeah, Stone said he's gonna we'll thank him. I've already come to terms with it's definitely better now. Like any demo-itis that I had is gone. But Stone said you're gonna thank him when it's on the radio in like a year. You know, like that's when you'll hear he's done something. Yeah. So that's exciting. That's coming out in the new year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
You got the scoop there.
Woo! You heard it here first, folks. Do you have an album title?
The album's called Face in the Mirror.
Face in the Mirror?
Yep. There's a song titled that. It kind of... We struggled with naming it, to be honest. I think that's the only thing I sometimes... That's probably my one thing I'm not so good at, is like the visual side sometimes. I think partly because you're so close to it. I didn't realize until kind of recently, until like chatting to people in bigger bands, that some bands have like creative directors who are like people whose brains are just wired to like
that's what they do.
Read the lyrics and say, this lyric's about this. Did you know that this is common lore, that like folklore or something, or a common saying, or a fable or whatever. But yeah, Face in the Mirror, basically, I kind of wanted to evoke the feeling of like everything that's happened, and even all the stuff we talked about today. I'm finally able to like look at myself in the mirror and be a bit like, okay, I'm at peace. I'm like, finally, after all this time, because it's not been easy. It's,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and I think everybody can relate to that though as well. It's kind of like the like there's that saying. It's a bit of a corny saying, but they're like, life starts in your 30s. I'm starting to feel that. I'm not 30 yet, but like only in the past 2 years do I really feel like I understand who I am. But then I don't know in 5 years, am I going to watch this back and think, who's that guy?
You'll always
Is that true? Is that how you feel?
Oh, I mean, I'm 53. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I still feel 20.
Right, yeah.
But you'll have a lot less urgency.
Yeah, I'm feeling I was chatting to the guys about this last night. I'm slowly feeling more at peace with like not trying to prove. I don't know, for all my life I feel like I've had this like voice in the back of my head that I've been trying to prove wrong, and that's slowly, it's always going to be there. I think it's always going to be the drive for like doing this kind of life where it shouldn't, there's so many reasons it shouldn't work.
Something's got to motivate you. Like, let it.
Yeah, but I'm definitely coming more at peace with that voice. I think there's an element where like, if we don't have a tour first quarter next year, 2 years ago that would be Panic Stations. Like, now it's kind of like it's gonna happen. Fine.
Right.
We'll just write some more songs.
What's the opposite of a cautionary tale? What a great supportive story for the idea of listening to your gut and following your inner narrative, whatever, your dream.
Yeah. Do you know what? I remember having a conversation, again, going back to quitting the old band, I had a conversation with one of my best friends, and I was borderline like close to tears. We'd been for a run, and we were chatting, and then we went for coffee after the run. And there's this theory as well that when you're running with someone, or when you're driving with someone, because you're not making direct eye contact, you can open up about things more. That's why running with a friend's so great. It's like, because like right now, like say we were just having a chat now, I'd find it hard to like look you in the eye and tell you like my deepest secret. If we're jogging, I'd be like, hey, Mike, what do you think about this thing I've been feeling? You know, can I? And you know, and because you're both kind of focusing on your breathing and running, it's really cool. But anyway,
I wonder if that's why therapists have patients lay down or sit.
It must be. Well, I also think it's the reason why bands get so close. Those long late night drives where you talk about I know, you know, you have so much time to learn everyone's life stories. And there's
when I was in grade 3, my teacher said this mean
and it
thing
stayed with
to
you, and you're
me.
like, dude, my teacher said this thing.
Yeah.
But I remember chatting to one of my friends, and I was close to tears, and I was just like, why do I care so much? Like, and as in about the art and stuff and about the decisions. I was like, I wish I could just be like a yes man, happy-go-lucky dude. Like, it felt almost like, sounds a bit lame, but it's like the curse of the artist. It's like crippled by like the idea that it, you know, something has to be right. It's so again, leaving my old band, so many other people would have just been happy to just sit with it because it's a sweet gig, you know? So I just remember just thinking like, am I? And I've quit a lot of things in my life, you know, like I did have a bit of a chance with rugby as well, and I knocked that on the head. I had a chance with martial arts when I was younger, I knocked on the head. Had a few relationships that I like knocked on the head, and I was starting to worry that like maybe like I'm just a quitter. That's going deep. This is getting this is like therapy now. Shall I lie down?
The positive word to use to describe that is ambitious.
Yeah.
And if you recognize things in your situation that you are not into, you are longing for another thing. I also took a personality test recently, which is really weird.
They're interesting, right?
And I'm type 4.
Ooh, okay.
Which was something that is reported in this thing to plague type 4, which resonates with me, is that it is more difficult to be comfortable with what you have.
Okay.
And not in a jealous way, but think like whatever they're doing is better. My thing is pay attention.
Yeah. Dude, I hate, sometimes on tour I struggle because you see great bands and you get kind of tired of because the thing is, to be a great band, you need to know what it is that you bring to the table, but you can't allow it to be clouded by, like last night, I'm going to shout this band out because they were sick. There was a band called 40 Feet Tall in Portland. Dude, they were amazing. They were like a post-punk thing, super wacky, like not catchy music, but like just the craziest, like they had like crazy, like you know the band The Wire, like crazy like post-punky bits. Then it would go into like crushing Sabbath riffs, and I was just watching them. I was like, I want this. I want to be that. That's exactly that's everything I've ever wanted. But then tomorrow night there might be a dreamy poppy band that opens, and I'm like, I want that. And I think it's just testament to being a music lover. Yeah, the grass is always greener thing is tough as well. Even on tour as well, you meet so many great people who have so many cool stories. And you see so many places, and you start to wonder what your life could look like in different cities, you know.
Always.
Yeah. There's a parallel universe where we're in Berlin drinking Fritz Cola, like all night.
My life is better for knowing you a little better now.
Oh, thanks, man. Likewise.
My life is better for having toured with you.
Likewise,
and
definitely.
I'm really excited for you and the band.
Oh, thank you, man. It's a funny position we're in because we're in that weird position where the world's our oyster, but then there's still this like kind of, there's the realist in me that like is worried about the future of rock. I know that sounds, and just the future of like bands that don't want to conform. And oh yeah, I forgot about that. I think we got all that out on the car journey here.
Right.
We went deep with politics to just get it out of the way. We're good guys though. We've got that. We've established that. At least. We're on the right side.
We're on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would have been bad though. Imagine that. If you just dropped like a bomb. Like
well,
not actually no.
I don't
because I'm trying to get better at seeing the nuance in situations. So it wouldn't have been bad. We would have had an interesting conversation. And then I would have blocked you on Instagram.
Right. Well, I hope that you have the gig of your life tomorrow.
Oh, thanks, man.
I think it's probably going to be
It's going to be smash. It's going to be sick because we have Tim from your band ripping a solo. And even if everything else goes wrong, that bit's going to be sick.
I can't imagine it's going to go wrong.
No. We've hit our stride. It's such a nice feeling to like do a long tour. So I mean, the great thing is we're doing pretty much the same set from Duff. So it feels like we've probably similar to you guys doing the UK, Europe, and then America. It's like basically like 2 months of living in this set. So confidence. It's so nice because there's little things I do like. It's not choreographed, but there are just things that like I need to know where I need to be on the stage for different moments and like
of course
times, like even things like hitting a pedal at the right time or like looking over at James B when he plays a solo. That stuff feels like watertight now. It's so exciting. That's the moment. It feels like we can actually like show off a bit. Whereas usually it's just like seat of our pants, just trying not to like, you know, just shit. But now we can actually have fun and enjoy the show.
Well, the band is awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm very grateful for them. I mean, I'm a bit soppy. I say to them a lot, like, thank you. Like I don't understand. I'm a bit self-deprecating at times, and I think I struggle to understand why they'd want to be in my band when they could be in someone else's band. You know?
Right.
But we definitely bring each other up. And like you said earlier, it's such a sense of camaraderie now. Like,
if they have a moment like you had before, they'll leave.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Oh, I hope we don't leave. But no, it's fine.
But
exactly.
Any decision that anyone makes is hopefully for the right reasons and better for everyone.
Exactly. And like you said,
you wouldn't want anyone around that didn't want to be there.
No,
anyway.
That's it. And I'm pleased to say it feels like finally like I'm out the other side and it was the right decision all along. Like it really, it sounds the Duff tour especially, dude. Like that was healing. It sounds a bit lame to say healing. Like it was like I remember it was actually I've got a photo and I'm gonna post it at some point, but it's me, Gabby, and Duff backstage at like one of the final venues, I think in Belgium. And he just came in for a chat, and I just started like fucking blabbing about my life story to him, and he's very gracious. He was listening, and he's a good listener. Like he's there like taking it all in, and I can't remember, but he basically said, he was like, oh, you know what Mike's been saying, and we were like, oh no, what's that? He's the time, and then that's where we first heard that saying. So, and it was at that moment that I was healed. There we go.
What a time!
Hell yeah, man!
I can't believe that camera just died.
That's perfect though. Yeah. That works.
Yeah.
Dude,
you know what?
Thank you, man. Enjoyed that.
Thank you so much.
That was fun. I haven't really spoken about all that stuff to someone before.